Nice and quiet.
Indeed.
Sanitarium guard says, the head warden says you can go in. Be careful in there. Okay, if it's so dangerous inside here, why don't the head warden send some of the guards to help me? Doesn't make sense. Aloth says, rather telling that they don't keep these poor sods up top. Frail, a curved spine twists this woman's posture forward. Her greasy hair draped over her large eyes like veins. She smiles at you. You must be visiting someone. Then, noting your appearance, she adds, a friendly visit, I hope. Arismital asks, what do you know about this Animansa, Azo? Freyol says, oh, I like him very much. Many Animansas could care less about their patients. Look at us like vermin for their experiments, but Master Azo treats us like humans. Even the very sick. You can tell he does this to help people. He's helped me understand a great deal about myself, and I know he's done the same for others. It's too bad what they did to him. He hides it well, but I know he's still affected by it. Arismital asks, what happened to Azo? Freyol's eyes dart back and forth, and her voice lowers to just above a whisper. They don't like to talk about it, but there was an accident. He was said to be one of the brightest in Deerwood. That was his reputation here, and that was what brought me to seek treatment. People say it was ego that drove him to try and solve the legacy, but that's hogwash. Even if he was a bit of a showman, he loves his homeland. He thought he could help. He wasn't one to speak of his work, suspected his colleagues might have tried to steal it, but he told me once that he had figured out a way to create a soul. Not a soul exactly, mind you. How did he put it? A proxy, I think he called it. Had some machine that drew energy out of the very ether. Can you imagine? The point is, it was going to help with the legacy. It was going to make Hollowborn into something easier to love and care for. God knows, gods know that's something we need. Do you know what they call those empty little babies in Ondra's gift? Arismital says no. Tell me. Freyol says they call them boys because so many of them are found floating face down in the water. These are mad times. Anyway, Master Azo had scheduled a public demonstration of his work in Copper Lane. He was so excited. And then the next day he was locked in his office, turning away visitors, I heard, and he stopped seeing patients. I don't know exactly what happened, and I don't have the heart to ask him, but I'm glad they're letting him treat people again. Arismital asks, "Do you know where I might find Azo?" Rayo says, "I think I've seen him around today. Have you checked the laboratory? It shares a wall with his office. He's been spending most of his time there lately." Arismital asks, "Have any of the patients here been acting unusually?" Freyo says, "Well, there's Batixa, who relieves a murder she committed more than 5 lifetimes ago. Idelman, who they say only has half a soul, and who was found collecting the faces of others because he believed his own to be a false one. Gram, he speaks in a language no one understands and wails at night sometimes." So both Batixa has a past life as a murderer. According to the notes I discovered, Batixa was a serial murderer in the past life. And Idelman, according to Freyo, he collects faces of others. Does he collect the faces of those who died, or does he kill living kith and collect their faces? If it's the latter, then Idelman is the current time serial murderer, not in his or her past lives. Arismital says, "Different from their normal behavior, I mean." Freyo says, "Well, yes, I suppose, but nothing they didn't volunteer for. Master Azo let us know that a number of patients in the North Ward had volunteered for a new therapy and would be escorted to his laboratory to receive treatment. The North Ward has our most troubled cases. I'm glad some of them have chosen to get help. It seems to me it's gotten quieter over there since it started. It's Gram I see them taking in the most. He struggles, but he always was a bit of a wild one." Arismital asks, "Would I be able to visit the North Ward?" Freyo says, "They like to keep them separate. I don't know that I've ever seen the guards allow a visitor, just Master Azo. You might ask him. He's very sympathetic." Arismital asks, "Why are you in here?" Behind Freyo's hair, her cheeks flush. "I don't want to say, you'll think less of me." Arismital says, "You can tell me. I'm going crazy too." Freyo says, "You shouldn't tease. No one in here help what they are. No one in here can help what they are. I know. I've tried. These last few years haven't been kind to me. They haven't been kind to anyone, really. I try not to think of it as personal. I lost my husband and both boys in the Saints' War. My daughter, the legacy took her before she was ever mine. I made do. What else can you do? I moved to a tiny place in Ondra's gift, got by mending clothes and on the kindness of strangers when I had to. But I was surviving and the gods were watching over me. I could live with that. Then one day this noble woman comes in, wants this fancy gown fixed, gorgeous thing, this shade of blue I'd never seen before, only I had. I looked at it, and it reminded me of something. I had what they call an awakening. I remembered being a noble woman myself in another life. People doting over me, Men doting over me, the best food, the most beautiful home, all the things you'd never dare to dream of. They were mine. It was poison, knowing that all those things I had that I'll never have in this life. It did something to me. My food started to taste rotten. The walls in my little room seemed to close in around me. I stopped being able to sleep in my own bed. So I came here. It was that or break into an estate and start ordering servants around. It seems like such a silly thing to worry about. You don't have to tell me, but I cannot get past it. And I start to wonder, did the gods choose this life for me? And if so, what terrible thing must I have done to deserve it? Aristotle says, maybe you'll get there one day. Again. If not in this life, then in another. Rael says, the strange part is I think even the best wouldn't be good enough for me anymore. I think it must have gotten to that point when I was that noble lady. Oh. Even as a noble, she was not content. In her past life, I mean. Aristotle says farewell. Flesh construct. The construct turns its head toward you and watches wearily. Flesh construct says, no speak. The construct stares at you through lidless eyes. Flesh construct screams, Ugh. Move. Okay, I wonder, what is this flesh construct? Are they patients or former patients and something went wrong and they became like this? Is it? Patience says, Master Azu said he'd make me better soon. I've been hearing screams in the night. The children they keep down here, pure evil in their eyes. They said I cannot leave yet. I don't like this place. The crooked boards show deep gouge marks. They're spaced like folk or elven fingernails. Crooked chalk tally marks cover the surface of this table.
I'll have this open in no time. It's done. I'll have this open in no time. It's done.
Something churns and bubbles in this tank. The copper wires and conduits are shiny. The device is warm to the touch. Aedman Azo. A round-faced, balding man turns to face you. His upper lip is pulled upward slightly by his pointed nose, exposing his upper teeth when he scowls.
What is the meaning of this?
Arismita asks, I heard you were demoted. How did it happen? Azo's nostrils flare, and he bares his upper teeth more broadly. That's none of your concern. Did one of the others put you up to this? Audmer, that smug weasel. Things went wrong. Everything. I don't know how. I'll never know. Azo spits on the floor, as if to remove a bitter taste from his mouth. Arismital asks, Are you the Animansa who's been buying relics from Immortal? Azo says, Are you trying to discredit me? Go dig elsewhere.
What is it now?
Arismital says, I'm looking for an expert on awakenings. Azo says, I don't have time to give you directions. Go bother somebody else. Arismital says, Ethel Moer told me you're not supposed to be doing any more experiments. Azo says, yes, well, Ethel Moer hasn't done much good for anybody since he had his soul moved to an inanimate object, so I fail to see why I should let that sway me. If Animansas all followed the commands of the leaders, where would we be? We'd all be as backward and willfully ignorant as Reatseras. We would know nothing about life or death, or even ourselves. We would be lost in the dark with no clue as to why. Aloth says, I never thought I'd find myself in agreement with a statue, but Ethelmoer is right about this fellow at least. Aloth sneers at Azo. How easily ambition masquerades as prudence. I'll bet he's fooled even himself. Arismital says, Surely there are other paths. Sorry about my stutter. I have this problem with stuttering. Surely there are other... Dang it, my stutter is getting worse and worse. Today, I am not sure why. Surely there are other... Surely there are other paths that don't involve risking lives.
Indeed. Many lives have been spent in such pursuits, writing treatises and poems. But tell me this, how does one verify the truth of a poem? If some philosopher stumbled across the meaning of our existence, how would we know it from a false one? These are wasted lives. In animancy there is progress. We are measurably closer to complete understanding because of our work. And that will be true until our work is complete. Who will solve Widewen's legacy? Some church? Some warrior? It will be an animancer or it will be no one at all.
Arismital asks, have you tried your experiments on any other subjects? Azo says, I have, yes. No point in lying about it, now that Ethel Moed is involved. I asked for volunteers from our patients, and a few brave souls came forward. I was very close at one time to a breakthrough. They understood that. They understood their sacrifices would mean something. Are the flesh constructs the patients who volunteer? Maybe the experiments failed and the patients became like that. I wonder. Arismital says, I'd like access to the North Ward. Azo says, out of the question, those patients are in isolation for a reason. Arismital says, your forehead seems damp all of a sudden. Perhaps I should discuss your insubordination with the head warden.
You smug cretin. How dare you come down here and meddle? You have no idea the importance of my research.
Azo balls up his fist and digs his teeth into his index finger, a growl simmering beneath his breath, and a deep scowl compressing his face.
Fine. Speak to them for all the good it'll do you. I'm sure the discussions will be fascinating.
Azo pulls a heavy key from one of his pockets and nearly slams it down on the floor before handing it to you. Arismital says, farewell. Thank you for your cooperation.
What's this?
Flesh Construct says, no visitors. Okay, maybe the flesh constructs are not patients or former patients. Maybe they are created as servants to look after the patients, to take care of this place, perhaps. Sanitarium guard says, keep your distance. Wick's in that cell back there. We've had incidents when people got close. I only warn once, after that it's your skin. I'm on duty, you wanna be friendly, buy me an ale.
Margaren's fire casts light in dark places.
Edelman says, is this my face? Tell me. This is not my face. I don't look like this. Whose face is this? You, that's my face. Why do you have my face? Is this my face? Tell me. But Tixa says, thundering sky, rain of blood, innocents must drown. The flames must be fed, watch them rise. Too much silence, too much. So you wanna hear screams of the tortured and the murdered? You are a sadist. No, I'm just making it up. Gram, this man has the look in his eyes of a hunted animal, and at your approach, he staggers backward to the far corner of his cell, halfway appearing as though he would climb the walls if it would get him farther away from you. Option number 2, leaden key spy. Okay, let's leave. I'm going to explore this place first. Arismital says never mind. What makes it so that Arismital immediately Assume that Gram is the Leaden Key spy. Is it from the visions that he received from the acolyte down in the catacombs, or is it just instinct?
These poor people. This isn't the treatment that they were promised upstairs by the cushioned seats and lush carpets. Is that the cure for soul sickness? To be thrown into a cell and subjected to the whims of your captor?
Arismital says, should I choose option number 2? Should I choose option number 5? Or option number 6? Maybe I should go along with Kana's passionate statements. Arismital says, these animancers are as mad as their patients. Kana says, but if all were treated like this, the sanitarium would never survive. What did these patients do to warrant such conditions? Arismital says, the animancers justify their sadism with false cures and charlatans' tricks. Any good they've done is a coincidence. I'm sure that's what Kana would like to hear coming out of my mouth. Kana says, I suppose if they had a real understanding of all they profess to, they would not do this. Kana hangs his head. Let's be on our way. This place gnaws at the soul. Wait, is this my objective and not Gram? Did I just accidentally skip conversations with Gram? Ushgrim, a willowy adolescent boy, stands in the center of his cell. Gawkishan stoop-shouldered. He stares straight ahead. The occasional blink is only movement, and it is unclear whether he registers your presence at all behind his glassy doll-like eyes. In this state, the barriers between your soul and his are thin and porous, easily bypassed if you should wish it. Leave. Let's speak to Gram first. Gram looks at you nervously. Arismital asks, you're afraid. Do certain visitors make you afraid? Gram looks at you with uncertainty. Slowly, tentatively, he steps closer to the front of his cell, and as he does so, for the first time you can perceive his soul within your ken. It is misshapen, as though maimed by some jagged instrument, and large expanses of it have been gouged out entirely. You feel no barriers of resistance. If you wanted to, you could look further into Graham's soul. Peer into Graham's soul. You project out toward the maimed soul in front of you, merging with it, its confusion and fear becoming yours as it whisks you into its depths. You are in your cell, a key turns, the door creaks open on neglected hinges. Thoughts come to you in waves, incomplete, broken, fearful. Standing at the door is a rotund, balding man. His upper teeth and pointy nose remind you of a rat. He beckons, apologetic. You don't want to go. Anything else. In your mind is a single word, and the word is no, but it dissolves before it reaches your lip. You press against the back wall, cornered, you cry out. Okay, the description of his upper teeth and pointy nose. I think it refers to Kaedman Azo. In darkness, you fight against unseen restraints. You cannot move your arms or legs. The man walks into the room carrying a lit candle, its meager flame casting long shadows across books and machinery. Straps bind your arms and legs. Cold metal circumscribes the crown of your head and the breadth of your chest. The man is sorry. He is in need of raw materials. They dismantled his work and he needs another source. He needs to show them he was right. He thanks you. Then he turns a knob and you feel yourself begin to crack from within, and you can feel pieces of you torn away, like having your insides chewed by a horde of rats, and you are screaming, a scream you can barely hear. Dang it, Kaedman Azo. You are torturing all these patients? Well, not all these patients, I mean. I just talked to one, but I'm sure he did this to other patients as well. Continue searching. Another night, heavy footsteps outside your door, coming for you. You look through a slit in your door. The flesh giant, the artificial being, just outside, but facing left, facing the end of the hall, the boy there. The boy looks with interest at the giant, then collapses to the floor like a shed snake skin. The giant convulses for a moment, then rights itself, turns away and leaves. The boy? Is it referring to Ushgrim? And the giant flesh must be the flesh construct. Arismetal decouples from Graham's soul. Graham looks at you, still wild-eyed but somehow more present. He nods at you, then walks back to the end of his cell. Speak to the patient at the end of the hall. Dang it, Kaedman Azo, what did you do to people like Graham? Graham stares at the floor in some half-conscious state. I already read this one, so I'm going to just press continue. Reach out for his soul. You close your eyes and edge forward toward the boy's soul, and as you near, a sudden melee comes over you. You are cold and warm all at once, sweating and shivering, and straining for breath, as you did on the caravan journey. The soul you approach is the wrong one, a parasitic plant that strangles its host. It is... okay, my stutter is starting again. It is predatory and pitiless, and you have crossed paths with it before. Too late does it occur to you to retract, and already you feel yourself plunging into some interminable abyss of thought and memory. Okay, hold up. It says here, you have crossed paths with it before. Where? Where did Arismital experience something like this? You are standing in a cell now, the same cell, in the sanitarium. The halls are moonlit and empty, and you are waiting. At the far end of the ward, the door opens, revealing a flesh golem in silhouette beneath the stone archway. It makes its usual rounds, the same stops every time, the misbegotten child of despondent creators. When the construct is close, you coil yourself up and spring forward, passing out of the boy's body as though it were a membrane. You can sense his body behind you collapsing to the floor, a puppet whose strings are cut. You are rushing toward the golem now, bodiless as a gust of wind. Quickly, you think to yourself. Quickly, and you feel the strength hemorrhaging from your soul as you dart towards the makeshift abomination. You pass into the golem shell and overtake the soul implanted within, encircling it, suppressing it, and contained in this new vessel you are strong again. You step heavy-footed down corridors unheeded by the other constructs, and scrutinized only by the wary, untrustworthy eyes of the mad, coming at last to an office piled with books and scribbled papers and the perverse implements of animancy. You set your oversized hands upon a large machine, a nest of globes and tubes and coils in the center of the room, and go to work, bending wires and unsettling alignments. Is it saying that whatever soul exists inside Ushgrim took control of a flesh construct and doing something like bending wires and unsettling alignments? A sabotage, perhaps? Your surroundings are pulled past you, or perhaps you are pulled past them, and they dissolve into a blur. When they settle into place again, you are outside on a clear day, standing in front of a crowd, stacked high above you, on the tiered seats of an amphitheater. You are acting for the crowd, standing deliberately still, but this is no play. A balding man with rodent-like features is strapping you to a machine, the one you had tampered with. You see your arms for the first time, short and fleshy, unmistakably those of a little girl, but this body is not truly yours. Your mind still holds the same determination, the same hard-heartedness as before. The body itself is cold and vacuous, unlike the others. This one has no soul of its own. So whoever inhabits Ushgrim's body, the soul, it can move from one body to another. And it did sabotage some kind of device, and I'm assuming the device is whatever Kaidaman Azo was working on. I remember Lady Webb say something about Thaos Ix Arcanon. According to her, Thaos has the ability to take control of other people's body. Don't tell me that currently the soul that exists within Ushgrim's body is that of Thaos Ix Arcanon? The man speaks and the crowd applauds with an enthusiasm worthy of a hero's entrance. Bear witness, he says, and he pulls a lever. The machine shivers and sparks, and a bead of sweat rolls down the side of the man's brow. But the crowd's apprehension quickly gives way to awe as a crystal globe fills with a radiant mist that casts the entire theater aglow. He opens a valve, and the glow crawls through a tube along a length of copper wiring that runs to a set of electrodes beneath your armpits. You feel nothing when it reaches you, as it should be, for you have been leading his work astray periodically for some time, altering notes and settings and playing puppeteer for Hollowborn. But you make it look how people would expect it to look when a body is infused with a soul. In a moment the machine goes dark, and the man unstraps you, eyeing you with a scientist's concern. He looks back up at the crowd. "Behold," he says, but there is obvious hesitation in his voice. Slowly you take a plodding step forward, then another and another. You look up at the man, giving him the eye contact of which no Hollowborn is capable, and the crowd gasps. The man looks relieved. "How do you feel?" he asks at a volume meant for the crowd, and this is the moment. At the top of your lungs you let out a piercing shriek. The man comes towards you, his hands outstretched, but you run the other way, back to the machine. With all your strength you drive your head into the crystal globe, and it shatters, streaking your head with warm blood. You drive your head down onto the surface of the machine again and again, drawing panicked screams from the crowd, and by the time the man reaches you, your body has already ceased proper function and merely twitches on the cold ground. Satisfied, you depart the corpse in search of another unsuspecting host. Who could put their faith in animancy now? Okay, I don't know who told me this. Was it Freyol? Was it the head warden, Ethelmoer? But I came across something that exists in my mind, in my memory, that Kaitman Azo was supposed to have a demonstration at Copper Lane, and I think this vision tells the story of that demonstration. Whatever device that Kaitman Azo was working on has been sabotaged, and the perpetrator deliberately entered the body, the corpse, to act crazy, to make people disbelieve, or maybe even against animancy. So Kaitman Azo did not fail. He has been sabotaged. But I'm not saying this to say that Kaitman Azo was in the right. Like Kana says, bad things are being done to the patients here. And like I said, Lady Webb told me that Thaos X Arcanon possessed the ability to take over body, to take over a weak soul. Again, I think this may be Thaos X Arcanon in front of us. You are pulled again from your surroundings, transcending the boundaries of memories and lifetimes, deeper and deeper past betrayals and murders and lies upon lies that form the thick webbing of plots beyond mortal comprehension. You settle at last on a room you have seen before, expansive, with a tall device encasing an Adra monolith at its center. The room is filled with people, and the people all look at the device. Could this be the same vision that Aris Mittal received during the incident at the ruins of Sealand Lys when the Beowig killed? What were the names of the two companions that died because of the device? I forgot their names, a woman and a man. I'm sorry I don't remember your names. You are yanked suddenly back to reality, and the once catatonic boy in the cell is looking directly at you, appraising, calculating. There is no mistaking now that it is the soul of Thaos X Arcanon. The man you have been searching for, that gazes out from that borrowed husk. A watcher, he says. Arismital says. I believe we share a common past. I'm just looking for some answers. Ushgrim says, is that so? He makes no effort to hide his disinterest, but he continues to search your eyes. He makes a slight grunting noise, and his eyes soften for an instant, and it seems for that moment that he recognizes you. He opens his mouth to speak, then seems to think better of what he was about to say. His jaw tightens. Ushgrim says, I know your look, your hunger for answers that elude you. It gnaws at your soul. It usurps your reason for being. You are like everyone. I will help you let go. Ushgrim dodges backward with startling grace, putting himself out of reach. On his face there is no malice, only the dispassion of a farmer putting down a sick animal. Then suddenly he slumps forward. Dang it, Thaus ix Arcanon. Dang you. Bound and buried, superstitious folk near Road's End have been acting on a rumor that the hair of a dead virgin that was bound and buried alive can cure a hollowborn. Not only has it resulted in horrific attacks against young women, but unscrupulous merchants have taken to selling bits of hair to those who don't have the stomach to perform the act themselves. Roads and local thines have assigned agents to root out the problem, but they've had little success. What is going on? Do people start making up things? A sign. Let's assign. How many days it take? 2 days? Let's assign this companion. Verse is assigned, alright? I heard screaming. I think everything is going crazy right now. Dang it, Thaus. The chains groan with added weight. Crescent bite marks pit the edges of the cot. The bucket reeks of offal. Guideman Azo says, "What have you done?" Arismital says, "You've been experimenting on patients against their wills, mangling their souls. I've witnessed it with my own eyes." Azo's face drains of what little color it had. "How could you possibly? Look, it had to be done. Ethel Moer and the others, they took everything from me. Everything when I was this close. I had to know where I failed and why. You failed because of the interference of Thaos, but it doesn't mean that you have to go this way, this path. But I guess you didn't know that. I can't blame you. But I'm not going to defend your actions after Thaos sabotaged your device." Azo says, "Imagine the value if I'd succeeded. I had something that could make all those hollow infants into something like a real person. And with a few more patrons and a few years' research, who knows? No one has come that close with a legacy. It's why I have to continue. It's why I have to risk everything here working in secret. It's why you have to lie to Ethel Moer for me. Tell him you've cleared me of all suspicion." Arismital says, "We'll see."
I trust that you'll do what's right for Deerwood. Don't hold everyone accountable for my mistakes.
Okay, I'll think about it. Aloth shakes his head, scowling. The same fools responsible for the cruel salvation thought they would solve the problem too. A few years of study and research lab doesn't give someone the moral authority to tinker with souls. Alright, Sorry, Azo. I was about to think it. I was about to consider your proposition. But Aloth has spoken. So I'm going to go along with my companion's wishes. I think Aloth is against what you're doing, so I'm going to report you to the head warden. Yes, Arismital is gullible. No, not gullible. Arismital does not have a real opinion on things. He is a noble. His life is comfortable. He's just doing all these adventures for fun. He doesn't have to worry about going back to his home, being poor. He's rich, and once this adventure is over and he survives, he's still alive, Arismital will go back to his homeland, a rich noble. And that makes him not want or not having the desires to form opinions or take sides, except taking sides of those who are close to him. I'm sorry, Azo. I have to go with Aloth. The head warden must be told what's going on down here, says Moedred. You're still worrying about your notes, Belasegi? Be careful. Things are going crazy here. Lock the door, or better, evacuate. Head Warden Ethelmoer says, what the blazes happened down here, down there? You were given permission to ask questions. Arismital says, it's complicated. A patient of yours, Ushgrim, was working for the Leaden Key, only without knowing it. You finish your explanation, and Ethelmoer breaks his silence. I've read accounts of people in history who could do what you describe. The accounts are few and brief and never reliable. Some go as far as to suggest that they are all the same person. If truly such a person was here among us, plotting our ruin, would that I had a body again and could be of some real use in our time of need. I fear what the future may hold for this place. I am grateful you were able to dispatch the threat before there was loss of innocent life. We very nearly had another scandal on our hands. What do you mean before there was loss of innocent life? The patients are dead down there, no? And the guards too. What the heck? You don't think of the patients as innocent lives? Ethelmoer says, what of Azo? What part did his experiments play in this catastrophe? Arismital says, if I hadn't come along, Azo's experiments would have eventually resulted in another scandal. Can I blame Azo for the failed experiment? Maybe I can testify against his methods, but I don't think I can blame him for what happened before. It was Thaus's handiwork. But I cannot exclude Azo from this. He may not have been responsible for the experiments going wrong, but after he was demoted, he's doing all these things to the patients, so I have to include him. Arismital, yeah, because that's what Aloth would like, I think. Arismital says, if I hadn't come along, Azo's experiments would have eventually resulted in another scandal. Ethelmoer says, at the worst possible time, say no more. Kaidman Azo is no longer welcome at this facility. Alright, Aloth, you disagreed with Azo's doing, right? There, I told the head warden about Azo. I'm sure this, well, I hope this satisfies your view, your moral values, whatever they are.
Hail and well met.
Ethelmoer says, anything new? No. I wonder how Azo would respond to this news, that he's not allowed to work here anymore. Let's speak to him. I mean, let's speak with him, not to him. Is that the correct grammar? Azo says it will be some time before things calm down here. Yeah. I'm guessing you haven't heard the news. The head warden bans you from working here anymore. I guess you haven't heard it, yeah?
Good day to you.
Don't bother the caddy
Good
too
day
much.
to you.
You'd have better odds against a Stelgar.
Okay, what was Sagani said? Don't bother the cat Itumak. You'd have better odds against Estelgair. What?
Greetings.
How fares your search?
Aris Mittal says, there is something I can tell you about the Leaden Keys operations.
Well, let's hear it.
Aris Mittal says, I found Thaus in Breckenberry Sanitarium, impersonating a patient. He was trying to damage the public's opinion of animancy.
Forgive me, it is unlike Theos to leave witnesses. He must be furious.
Lady Webb's eyebrows raise, two painted lines over barren, sloughing skin. Her forehead a lattice of wrinkles upon wrinkles. The corner of her mouth irks. I take it that Lady Webb enjoys the idea that Thaus is furious.
He did not aid you as you'd hoped, I take it? Well, take heart. With any luck, when he has finished his business, he will surely come and find you again, if only to kill you while you sleep.
Why do you have to say that? Now I can't sleep in peace.
This news of yours makes sense, of course. To dabble in animancy is to puzzle over the secrets of the gods. This would not be the Leaden Key's first action against it. But if this is connected to their other activities, we may be in for something on a much larger scale. That isn't enough to take to the Duke, but we're close. Avar Wolfgren is a cautious man. He will want to know everything possible before being moved to action.
Adesmittel says, Our Lady Webb says, this progress is encouraging. I only hope that we are not too late. Adesmittel says, I have other questions.
Yes?
The Hermit of Hadret House. Now let's chase after Kuran's investigations about the disappearing people. There isn't so much as a spot on these oranges. Noble says, so the thugs have left the brothel. I'm just asking for a friend. An imaginary friend? House Dormanel has a dark reputation, but they're perfectly good neighbors. The sooner Lord Raymond commits his crazy daughter to the sanitarium, the better. I hope not. Good day to you. It's a real horror. It's a real honor, okay. Lord Gaderman, I never would have believed it. Okay, spill the beans. What happens with Lord Gaderman? Juicy gossip? The Charred Barrel is the finest inn in the city if you're looking for lodging. Despite what you may have heard, nothing unusual goes on at the sanitarium. Yeah, right. Noble says, no, I haven't seen this dang Kendall person. Elega says, now hold on a minute, you barely. Noble says, you should be more careful about who you invite into your bed. Elega says, don't be sore just because I kicked you out of it. Noble says, be thankful the little scamp didn't make off with your good silver.
Welcome.
Elega. This dwarven woman is dressed in perfume, like a member of the nobility, but her sun-reddened skin and a sweat-stained outfit suggest that she's been out here for quite some time. Afraid I don't have time just now, says Elega. Arismital asks, what was all that yelling about? Elega folds her arms and blushes beneath her sunburn. You shouldn't go nosing into other people's conversations. Arismital says, then I guess I'll just have to ask someone else about Kendall's disappearance. Elega says, wait, don't go. She steps in front of you. I've been on edge of late. Didn't mean to offend. She looks you up and down. So that's little Orlan's finally getting serious, eh? Arismital says, Dunried Row is strapped for resources at the moment, so Kuren sent me. Elega says, well, I'm glad someone's on it. She rolls her eyes. Elega says, anyway, I'll tell you whatever I can. What do you need to know? Arismital says, tell me about Kendall. Elega says, what's to tell? He was a pretty young lad, not the brightest of the bunch, but always pleasant company. Arismital asks, how do you know Kendall? Elega smirks. We met up from time to time over the past few months. It was just a fling, really. Wasn't going to last. Elega picks at the corner of her sleeve and looks away. He was a little fool, but a sweet little fool. Arismital asks, what was Kendall doing before he disappeared? Elega laughs sadly, the worst blazing rendition of the general's speech from the Widow of the Wood that I've ever heard. Elega shakes her head. I love that fellow, but he was a tragic failure, yet somehow he managed to get in with an acting troupe. Arismital asks, when and where did you last speak to Kendall? Elega says, a week ago he came back to my house for a bit of fun. Afterwards we fell asleep, and when I woke up he was gone. No note, no nothing. Okay, where is your house, Elega? Can I come for a bit of fun as well? The prostitutes at Salty Must say I'm really good. They even give me back my money that I paid for their services. Don't believe me? Go to Salty Mast and ask the prostitutes there. Arismital asks, had you noticed anything different about Kendall lately? Elega says, he'd started hanging out with a bunch of actors, seem alright, except for that woman, she scowls. That woman with her long willowy legs and slender arms. Always came around wearing these low-cut dresses and impossible shoes. Arismital asks, what's her name? Elega's expression hardens. I don't know, I never cared to learn it. She uncrosses her arms and lets them slowly fall to her sides. I didn't realize it might be important. Arismital says, that's all the questions I have right now. Elega says, if you think of any more, you know where I'll be. So Kendall is in bed with a acting troupe. It reminds me of the actors at the amphitheater. Maybe I should go there?
Hail and well met.
Arismital says, I'm investigating Kendall's disappearance. Dominal's manor. I wonder, do they know that I'm the one who killed Dana? Ah. She's one of them, right?
Greetings.
Dominal doorman. The Berlin guard eyes you warily. I don't recognize you. What business do you have with House Dominal? Arismittel says. Tell me about House Dominal. Dominal doorman says, it's an old and respected family. Much of Defiance-based prosperity is due to Dominal business activities. Now, do you have any further business here? Should I choose option number 1? But Arismittel is a bitter and resentful individual. The fact that he was attacked by a group of hostiles, where he discovered the letter, and then he had to fight Dana and her thugs. Again, Arismittel got ambushed on a bridge in Ondra's gift. I think it's more than enough to keep Arismittel's resentment and grudge alive for the rest of his life. So I don't think he's going to choose option number 1. Arismittel says farewell. Dominal Doorman says, I will see you out. Oh? I get kicked out? Okay, I'll just enter it again. Again and again.
Well met, friend.
I can't even speak to the guard. Dang it.
Good day, stranger.
Arismittel says, House Dominal, I found a letter that might be of interest to someone here. Dominal Doorman says, I see, right this way. What is Arismittel getting himself into now?
Luxurious furnishings, hostile stairs. Reminds me of the Lore College.
Dominal Guard says, you'd better watch your step here. If you've got business, talk to Abrikan. The dozens envy Lord Dominal's cleverness. The knights envy his status. Just remember, Gedemara Dominal doesn't tolerate mischief from anyone but Abrikan and Dana. Oh! He killed Dana. There is nothing for us to discuss. What is the relation between Dana and Abrikan? You're lucky I've got better things to do. Oh, you're lucky that I don't seek my companions on you, guard. You want nothing with me. Talk to Abrekan.
I'll have this open in no time. It's done.
Dominal guard says, whatever you're thinking, don't try it here. Wait, how did you know I'm going to pull down my pants and show you my junk? Nothing goes on in this town without Gedemar and Dominal knowing about it. Lady Webb said the same thing.
I'll have this open in no time. It's done.
The coverlet feels like imported Eidir silk. Dominal guard says you'd better watch your step here. Dominal guard says any closer and you'll see the color of your own insides. Brown is the color of my shit. Welcome to House Dominal. What's the news? You're the first friendly guard I encounter here. You're lucky I've got better things to do. Well, never mind. Oh, my mistake. I should have heed the guard's warning. Dang it.
Indeed.
The perceptive use of color in this panorama is overshadowed by the oversized signature along the bottom, Abrekan Doemenel. While this landscape shows promise, the brushwork is obviously hurried. The artist seems to have spent more time on his signature, A. Doemenel, than anything else. Abrekan Doemenel?
I'll handle this. It's done.
The servant nods quickly and returns to work. Don't you know where you've landed yourself? This is no place for visitors, says the Dominal servant. You don't need a sword in this city to wield power. Whatever it is, it's nothing to do with me. You'll want to speak to young Master Abrekan. The many pillows are fluffy and full with down. Whoever sleeps here must sleep soundly indeed. Bricanta Dominal says you must be a friend of Abrekan. I never met him.
Gods keep you.
Bricanta Dominal. The woman must be well into middle age, but there isn't a line on her face. Her large green eyes are watchful. Behind a curtain of glossy black hair, she studies you. I don't believe we've met. I'd remember you. Arismital asks, what do you do here? Bricanta Dominal looks you up and down. Let's just say I'm a merchant. I handle the trade of certain goods that my enterprising children and husband happen across. Oh, she's the woman. She's the matriarch of the house. And who is her husband? Who is the patriarch of the house? Bricanta Dominal says, but I only trade with special friends, and if you want that kind of relationship, you'd have to do a little something for me. Arismital asks, what kind of favor did you have in mind? Bricanta crosses her arms and watches you out of the corner of her eyes. There's a certain someone who may or may not be named Colfedge. He's insulted me. I'd like you to make an example out of him. I came across this Colfedge fellow in Ondra's gift, actually. Arismital asks, just what do you want me to do to him? Bricanta says, I'd hate to stifle your imaginations. She wrinkles her nose with a quick smirk. Just see that you teach him a lesson he won't soon forget. Arismital says, if that's what it takes, then so be it. Bricanta says, there's the spirit. She winks. I know that little runt holds up somewhere in Ondra's gift. Once you've taken care of him, come back to me. I've got some stocks that I reserve for special friends.
I'll handle this. It's done.
The table is set with silver rimmed plates and golden candlesticks. Clearly crime pays well. Yeah. Okay, so far I've heard about Dominal being the shady family, but but I've never heard someone tells me what are their crimes. What are they doing that is considered a crime? Is it the dealing of bitter squash seeds? According to the conversation between me and Gareth, it seems the bitter squash seeds are illegal. So, yeah. So abortion pill is illegal in Defiance Bay. The knives are warm from the heat of the oven. They look absurdly sharp. What are they used for? Cutting bodies up? Abrekan Dominal. A young man leans against an expensive-looking glass cabinet. He holds a jewel-studded goblet in one hand and an ornate pistol in the other. He grins with wine-stained lips.
Our doormen seem to think it important that you meet with me. Speak.
Abrekan twirls the pistol around a finger. Aris Mittal asks, "What is this place?" Abrekan says, "You are standing in the dominal ancestral manor. You're either very lost or wasting my time." Abrekan takes another sip of wine. "If there's nothing else, be on your way." Aris Mittal says, "I found a note that may interest you." As Abrekan reads the letter, his curious smile fades, and the page crumples in his grip. His twisted lips are as cold and dark as the amethyst lining his cup.
You'd better explain yourself, and quickly.
Aris Mittal says, "I was attacked in a house in Copper Lane. I found this letter after I finished my assailants." Wine splatters the mirror's smooth tiles as Abrekan hurls the goblet. He smashes the carved handle of his pistol into the antique cabinet next to him. The men standing near us look from Abrekan back to you, their hands ready over their weapons. "Okay, Aris, ready your companion? We're having a fight here." Aloth says, "Criminal indeed. No one should waste a good red like that." Aloth, shut the F up. This is not the right time to make snide remarks. Eder whispers to you, "Maybe you should pay him a compliment to help patch things up." Eder, shut up. Do you think compliment works on a guy like this?
You've killed my men and cost me. But I'll give you one chance to make up the loss.
Abrekan rubs his hands over his face. Abrekan says, "You may have to overcome certain compunctions, but you'll finish the job I gave my men." Aris Mittal says, "Very well. I don't have a choice, do I?" Abrekan claps you on the back. "Look at this as an opportunity. If you perform well, you may yet profit." Lord Raymond has a gem the size of an Aumawa's testicles. It's called the Heart of White March. One of my contacts will leave the second-story window open. I want you to sneak inside and find the gem. Aumawa's testicles, how big are they? As big as a baseball? I mean, as big as a baseball ball? Maybe. Abrekan says, whatever you do, do not alert Raymond's guards. The last thing I want is a blood feud with my neighbor. I trust we are crystal clear on that. Arismital says, tell me more about the Raymond job. Abrekan says, what do you want to know? Arismital says, tell me about Lord Raymond. Abrekan makes a guttural noise of disgust. He's a pompous, uptight bastardo, who's still living in the days of Duke Hadret. He's also one of the richest men in Brackenbury. Not that I hold that against him, but really, what's the point of moving so many pounds if you're just going to stash them in a secret room somewhere? To save it for his offsprings? You know, as trust funds? I would do that. Arismital asks, what do you know about the heart of the White March? Abrekan says, only that it's one of the most coveted gems in the Deerwood, and when you see it, you'll understand why. It glows from within, a rare feature of jewels from the White March Mountains. Seizing that gem from Raymond will net us a fine profit and diminish the status of our rivals in the Knights and the Dozens. Arismital asks, any advice on stealing the gem? Okay, why would seizing the gem diminish the status of the Knights and the Dozens? Arismital asks, any advice on stealing the gem? Abrekan says, don't let his guards see you upstairs. Get in through the window if you can, and be prepared to move quietly. Raymond may be an enemy, but is also a neighbor, and I don't want to stir up trouble. Arismital says, that's all I wanted to know. Abrekan takes another sip of wine. If there's nothing else, be on your way. Arismital says farewell. Colfage, a youngish elven man squints at you in surprise. You can't just barge into somebody's home like this. Who do you think you are? Arismital says, I'm a friend of Bricanta Domanal. Colfage takes a step back. Now wait just a minute. I'm staying clear of the Domanals. You understand? Surely we can put this behind us. Arismital asks, what did you do to make her so angry? Colfage says, I told her she wasn't my type, maybe not as tactfully as that, but I didn't want trouble with the most dangerous man in Defiance Bay. How could I know she'd take it so personally? What should I do, huh? Should I beat him? Obviously, I'm not going to attack him. Maybe I should beat him up. Just to get the job done, but without killing him. Maybe I wouldn't been. Maybe, I can set my strength to very low, so he wouldn't get too bruised up and no broken bones. Arismetal says, if I don't give you a good beating, Bricanta will send someone who will. Or should I choose number 3? Maybe I should choose number 4 or 3. Let's go with number 4. If I don't give you a good beating, Bricanta will send someone who will, and he might not be as merciful as I am. Colfetch says, please, you can't. I'm sorry, Colfetch. But at least you're still alive, and I hope I didn't go too hard on you. I make sure that we use restraint. If it was someone else, maybe they would have gone overboard. I'm sorry about this. Here, take these coins for your medication and your recovery, and as compensation for your predicament. Again, forgive me. Colfetch says, you've made your point, please go. I will. And don't forget, I'll put the coin on the table, okay? Use it for your medication and as compensation for your situation.
Hail, traveler.
Bricanta Dominal says, back again. If only my husband returned so quickly. So who is your husband? Arismetal, wait, you have a husband and you still make advances on another man? Dang, you're a cheater. A cheating whore. Arismetal says, I've dealt with Colfetch. Bricanta says, that makes me very glad indeed. She draws one crimson fingernail to her lips. Tell me about it. Don't leave out a single detail. She nibbles the tip of her fingernail. Why don't you nibble the tip of this? Maybe I shouldn't do that. It will be my death sentence. Arismetal says, maybe I should choose the cruel option to make it more believable. Arismetal says, I thrashed that sorry fool within an inch of his life. Bricanta says, and took pleasure in your work, I see. A small smile curls the corners of Bricanta's lips. Consider me a satisfied customer. She slips a pouch under your belt. And anytime you want to come back, you can have a look at my special wares. Okay?
Well met, friend.
Show me what's for sale. The mortared stone wall is sheltered by the leaves or eaves. A knotty green vine climbs all the way up to an open window. Two ornate shutters seem to beckon you in. Test the vines. You give the vines a shake. They're thick and sturdy in your hands, but near the top they look flimsier. You might be able to make it to the top if you're quick. Toss a grappling hook to the window. You cast your grappling hook and it catches on the window sill. The rope remains taut as you put your weight on it. Climb the rope. Bracing your legs against the wall, you climb the rope. You perch atop the windowsill and steady yourself against the frame while the breeze cools your back. You detect movement in the house. Blinking as your eyes adjust to the dim interior, you slip inside the manor. Abrekan said not to alert the guards, didn't he? Okay, don't alert the guards.
The better part of valor.
Okay, I saw a gun. Whose stealth skill is best between the six of us? Okay, Ares Mittal has the best stealth skill, so it's going solo.
Hmm?
What's this? I'll have this open in no time.
It's done.
Heart of White March. The Heart of White March is a priceless jewel known for its pale glow, and named after the equally famous mountain range it was discovered in. Jewels like this were once believed to attract dragons.
Hmm?
Indeed. Yes?
A gust of cool air hits your face as you peer out the window. The vine-covered wall beneath you overlooks a cobblestone pavement 2 stories below. A fall from this height could be dangerous. Climb down the rope. You climb out the window, gripping the rope. You ease yourself down the wall into the safety of the ground. So this heist is entirely doable by only one person. So the group that attacked us, because we caught them off guard.
So you will go to your king and what? Implore him to curb his violent impulses? At the word of a heroic academic?
You don't usually grace me with your flattery, priest. What merits this attention?
All Rawatai's history is war, same as everyone. If only the world were led by soft-hearted giants who waste their muscles stroking their own quills. Oh, wouldn't that be grand?
I'm content to remain a burr in your boots. But here, if you but stand on the docks, you can single-handedly ensure no one ever sails to the Deerwood again.
Tension between Kana and Durans. Will they fight each other? I hope not. So what was I saying? This job seems doable for a single individual. So the group of thugs that attacked us earlier, who were planning the heist, were they planning to storm through the front door or something like that? Interesting.
Indeed.
Bound and buried. Oh yeah, this case. Rumors are circling around about a virgin being buried alive, and the virgin's hair will cure the Hollowborn. Though Verse was unable to find the source of the rumors plaguing Rhodes and the surrounding earldom of Hell's Gate, the local authorities assisted in breaking up mobs, punishing would-be murders, and preventing more young women from being buried alive. A particularly large and violent mob at Cal Hill Cemetery required Verse to rally the local soldiers and put down the primary troublemakers. On the body of the biggest belligerent, Verse found an odd, magical rope that he intended to use on a local young woman. A wizard advisor of the Erla of Hell's Gate suspected that the rope had been created by the same person responsible for spreading the rumors and inciting the attacks in the first place. So who created this rope? Huh? Who? Don't tell me it's a leaden key operative. Binding rope, this cruel instrument was created by a resident of Hell's Gate who was pursuing a rumor that promised a cure for the Hollowbone crisis. He intended to use the rope to bind a virgin girl and bury her alive, later pulling the corpse from the ground to harvest some of her hair for the cure. Despite its nefarious purpose, the binding rope still possessed useful powers. So who's behind this rumor and the creation of the binding rope? A leaden key agent? Maybe? Gaida successfully rounded up her test subjects. Lord Sidrock, Azru leaving in 8 days. I still have 8 days.
You have something for me, I hope?
Abrekan folds his arms and swirls his wine. Adesmital gives the jewel. Here it is.
Already? And without so much as a sneeze from the guards next door? Very discreet indeed.
Abrekan snatches the jewel and examines it. He nods at you.
This should keep the knights and the dozens in their place.
Abrekan bares his teeth.
A rare prize indeed. Take this. You've earned it.
Abrekan takes the jewel between thumb and forefinger and turns it in the light. You have gained 3,000 copper.
My father, Gedmar, will be pleased to learn that I've acquired such a gem. And an ally. Go and speak with him upstairs. He's been looking for someone with your skill.
Abrekan turns his gloating gaze on you. Okay, so the patriarch of this house is Gedmar. The matriarch is Brikanta. And Abrekan must be the son, so Dana must be the daughter. Did they know I killed Dana? Why are they so nonchalantly engaging with me in conversations? Huh? Abrekan says, tell the gods you are a distant cousin. He winks. They'll understand. Adesmital says, I have some questions. Abrekan says, and I have no answers, if there's nothing else beyond your way. Why are you acting like this?